changing threat landscape. Today, our practice manager on the security side, Matt Pascucci, will be presenting. Now, for those of you not familiar with CCSI, we've been in business since 1974, and we have several core competencies. One is infrastructure. That incorporates anything with data center, IPT, wireless, disaster recovery, etc. Also, on the security side, which we'll be going into today, our security practice, we provide real-time breach detection, risk assessments, pen and vulnerability testing, DDoS solutions, also secure mail and endpoint protection. We have a cloud practice, and our cloud practice focuses on migrating to the cloud, backing up to the cloud, leveraging the cloud for disaster recovery, and also cost containment for people that are already in the cloud. We also offer application monitoring solutions. So for people where it's mission critical, how to monitor your applications. And we're an MSP provider, and we're also an MSSP provider, as well as a hardware maintenance provider. So for any questions that you may have for the course of the WebEx, you could place them up in our WebEx chat. And at this point, I'd like to take this opportunity and introduce you to Matt Pascucci of CCSI.
Hey guys, how are you? So today we're going to go over a little bit on what we're doing from a managed security services standpoint. So as Joe was saying here, we do have a full service here that wraps around managed security. So we are an MSSP here. We are on Long Island. We're local. We're in Bohemia. Our team here that we have is fully certified. We'll get into that a little bit more. But what we're looking to do right now is just get a better understanding of, for you guys, on the services that we have to offer, and some of the things that we've went out there over this past year and started developing. So without that, we'll just start. So the average attacker, this is something that's kind of big right now. They stay hidden in a network for over 140 days. Now that's huge. So being able to see that dwell time of attackers that are inside your network is something that we need to be able to really start diminishing. We call that MTTD and MTTR, so mean time to detect and mean time to respond, so or remediate, depending on what you want to use from there. But we're looking to lower the 140 days to something, within maybe, a couple hours. So that is just too long to have as a dwell time. It's too long to have attackers or someone that you don't know, managing and getting into your network, because at that point they're moving laterally and there's things that are occurring that you just don't know. And it's something we're looking to absolutely just reduce going forward with our managed security services. So that's our major number we're looking at right now, that we're looking to reduce big time, because that's just unacceptable from our standpoint, from anyone's standpoint, to have someone that's an attacker inside your network for close to 3.5, 4 months. With that being said, our managed security services are built off of a kill chain. So you can look from right here, the autonomy of attack, and we go through these 8 phases if you're an attacker, all the way from what's motivating you to discovering to probing and getting all the way into a network, and then landing and expanding and then moving and executing, which is pretty much exfiltrating data. So we built our services around a lot of these different layers here to mitigate them on each different place. So the full suite of services we offer fills into these 8 different areas. So we can stop them at each different level. But we have clients who might have their own places that they're already remediating things within one of these slices. So we offer the ability to kind of fit ourselves into maybe 1, 2, 3, or all of them. So these are things that we're looking to help just mitigate and assist with our clients, because we know right now the skill shortage of cybersecurity analysts and engineers, that gap is widening as we go on every day. We're seeing that as a particular issue right now. The United States government said it's an epidemic at this point, that there is not enough jobs. There are too many jobs and not enough people to fill them, and that's just exponentially growing. So that's one of the reasons that we've seen our MSSP services grow rapidly here, is that we're kind of just offloading services for particular clients. With that being said, these are some of the services right now that we offer, and these are all within a wheel. And what that allows us to do is it allows us to go out there and kind of snap these services into one another. So all these services that we have, they're kind of foundational services. So over the past year and a half, we went out there and we've kind of just built foundational services. Not that they're super fun or awesome, even though most of these are, but we do see a lot of MSSPs go out there that have really interesting services, but it's kind of either way too advanced for certain mid-sized markets, or it's just not something that would sell because we're looking at our clients on what their actual needs are. So we've built a lot of this stuff as foundational. And we'll go through each and every one of these, starting at security awareness to security assessments, to vulnerability management, to patch management, to manage email, to manage endpoint, and manage firewall. And they've been put in that order for a particular reason, because each one of them can build or pivot off each other, and each one of those then goes directly back into our managed SOC. So this is our security wheel that we call it. These are our foundational services that we use. There's not a company out there right now that doesn't need one of these. So that's kind of why we also went out there and did that. This is the low-hanging fruit. These are where attackers are actually kind of aiming their adversarial exploits to. So that's what we're focusing on. We want to be able to give our clients the best bang for their buck, and this is something that we do day in and day out. So just starting off right now, security awareness. So when we start to talk about security awareness, there's many needs for that. We don't hack computers anymore. We hack people. We're going through a very large penetration test right now here, and one of the things we like to do is just start off with phishing, and we'll get into that a little bit now. But without the proper awareness that you get from an organizational standpoint, it's very hard to stop phishing. It's very hard to stop social engineering, or just pure understanding of what it means to be compliant for those who are mandated and regulated. From that standpoint, what does it mean to, what is PHI or what is PCI data? Where is your sensitive data? Who's touching it? How do you secure it? These awareness issues are your frontline defense when it comes to security, because a lot of the times it's the people that are being exploited and not the machines. They're being tricked into doing something that they don't want to do, or being motivated doing something, or pretexting them so that they can actually, be exploited by an attacker. And a lot of times also we see is compliance mandates this. So we're using the word compliance a lot because compliance is big right now, and it's forcing people into a more secure mindset. If that actually gives them a false sense of security, that is a different topic. But right now we're looking at just awareness and being able to train your users, get them up to a steady baseline, and that's something that CCSI does here with a lot of our phishing assessments. So we'll go out there and phish your organizations, get a better posture, get a better baseline, so that they know what it is to be phished. They know what to look for moving forward. We will we'll report on repeat offenders as well. So once we see, John Smith is out there and he's now clicked on the same phishing email 3 times over 3 campaigns, he needs to be pulled aside and maybe have some remediation training that's going to go on so he gets a better understanding, so he's no longer a risk to your organization. But with this, we have a baseline of education with our reporting. We can integrate directly into your AD, so when you get a new user, it goes and snaps directly into them. So they have to be trained first, they have to be phished first, and it allows you to get that continuous part of the training occurring, so that you're not stuck with someone just randomly doing something and checking a box for compliance. Everything that we do, we want to do continuously, and that allows us to do that as well. That meets compliance, that meets security, and being able to put out multiple training campaigns, multiple phishing campaigns. You'll watch that awareness and education kind of kick in after the second or third engagement, because now they've seen it, now they've been trained, and if they're still doing it, they're being remediated. So those are things that we like to look at to start with from a security awareness standpoint. Next, what we like to do, if we were going to take this from our wheel that we just spoke about, is more of the assessments. So we have a few different assessments that we go through, penetration tests, risks, DDoS, and we have a vCISO service that I put under assessments here because it kind of fits into that as well. But from the penetration testing, we do a lot of work on this. This is probably one of our larger services right now. It's mandated by compliance, depending on which compliance you're focused on. And also, as well, we'll do it from an application, a network, an internal, external, or physical standpoint. So we will actually attempt to break into your data centers physically and digitally. So, we're looking to find holes. We're looking to get in there. We're doing a test. We've done tests in the past where we've done physical assessments. We've gone in. We've actually broke into different places just by, doing shoulder surfing or what have you, and got into organizations, learned about them, and then really dedicated phishing emails directly to them. So these are things that we'll be doing from that assessment. We don't nickel and dime anyone when it comes to pen testing. We include phishing, we include vulnerability scans, we include Wi-Fi tests, we include external and internal. And then the first week before we do it, we actually do an entire week of recon against your organization so that we learn, what your organization is, what you do for a living, who works there, and then start tying in stuff. Because this is what attackers do, and this is what we're going to do. We don't like to say, well, this is the scope, you were only engaged for this many IPs, and that's not what adversaries do. They don't say, I'm only going to attack you on these 5 IPs because that's where you're vulnerable. It's an entire full breadth of just annihilation. We're trying to go out there and be as an attacker would be. Use the tools they use the types of engagements. So we'll actually, if you're illegal, if you're in healthcare or if you're in e-commerce, we look at known ATPs that have gone in the past, and we kind of use those frameworks and how we've seen other attackers go after it. So this is a full entire service that we offer here, and it's very adversarial, and we like to take that approach because it gives our clients the best benefit. From a risk and compliance assessments, we will do HIPAA compliance checks. We will help you with doing pre-audits for PCI, DFARS, anything along those lines. So anything that has compliance on there. We did a lot of work with NYDFS's regulation this past year and what they were going out and promoting, and just making sure that our clients were ready to be audited if needed. Bring them up to that standpoint, bring them up to the bar that's been raised by their regulators, and then we'll help show them the risks and where their improvements to their posture might be, and give them a better understanding of what their risk appetite might be. So that we might find things, but they say, there's competent controls in place, or what's the likelihood of the attack, and we'll work with them to prioritize a roadmap for the future to show you where exactly you should be moving forward to remediate risks from a security standpoint, but also from a compliance standpoint. And that does include DDoS stress testing. So we've done DDoS stress tests against a lot of our e-commerce clients. A lot of times we'll see that these clients will get hit during holidays, so we will do pre-assessments from a DDoS stress test engagement to readiness, to make sure that there's readiness involved from them, so that we'll go out there, and this can be either volumetric or application-based, so we will go out there and test both their hardware and their application to make sure that during a holiday or during a peak time, where would they be to if they get hit with an attack, how would they remediate it? What are their incident response plans afterwards? We've seen a lot of that, and DDoS is just not going away, and it's a tool that attackers are using today, especially if you have an online presence, and especially if you have some type of holiday or busy season. And then we have our vCISO, so our virtual CISO. Based off of these 3 services, we kind of tie these into exactly what they're doing. We can help build policy and procedure. We can help advisory. We can sit in a boardroom. We could be your CISO. As an example, NYDFS said that you need to have a CISO and that it could be a virtual CISO. So we're some CISOs for our clients where we're sitting in the boardrooms for them, either virtually or physically, and we are helping them guide their program. This is big for someone who might not have a CISO. CISOs come with sometimes a very large price tag, and we do this from either an hourly, monthly, quarterly, or yearly basis. So with that being said, it is a lot more value for smaller, mid-sized companies who might not be able to go hire a full CISO. So the virtual CISO is something we've seen over the past year or so really become something of interest. Now, we're starting to take this now a little bit more within that wheel, to keep that wheel in your head, the vulnerability management. So being able to discover, identify, and understand within your organization where you're at risk is huge. So a lot of organizations we'll see right now, they don't even know what they have. They don't even know what's vulnerable. So the first thing we like to do is perform discovery scans, identify where the assets are, and then perform vulnerability scans against them. That could be either via scanner, that could be via agents that we install on your systems. But what we want to do is be able to continuously search for vulnerabilities and search for new systems. Many times we see people that are out there, they don't have a process for this. They throw a new server up, they throw a new website up, if they're new, whatever in DMZ or anywhere really, and it's not been scanned. There's no software, there's no identification of what this device is, and it kind of just sits there and it's not being patched. And essentially, it's becoming a risk to your organization. So with vulnerability management, with continuous scanning for and identifying and prioritization of risks, which is the big one, that's something that vulnerability management kind of covers. And we do that from a 24/7, 365 approach. We do it from a network operating and application standpoint. So everything is there. We're just making sure that we have what you guys have as clients. We can go out there and discover and also search for vulnerabilities. And then once we have those vulnerabilities, part of the offering that we will offer is we'll cut through that noise and we'll start prioritizing a lot of the vulnerabilities that are there. So looking for false positives, cutting those down, working with analysts or developers or system administrators on what these vulnerabilities are and why they should be prioritized in a certain way or worked on in a certain way. And these are done on a monthly, quarterly review. So we could come into your office and do these reviews. We can actually sit there on the phone. We're here to be called if there's any issues on the results based off of the vulnerability assessments that we're doing. But compliance is stating that continuous vulnerability management is the way to go. No longer is it just an ad hoc scan. Like I did a vulnerability test last year. Once you do a vulnerability scan, whether it be an appliance or an agent, you are out of date the second that it finishes because you don't know what's going on afterwards. You don't know if someone has changed something, if a new vulnerability has come out. So this is something that has to be done continuously, and it is a massive project. It is many times takes a team to do, which is why we bring this back to our MSSP here, where we will be taking the brunt of that and understanding that we'll be working through that for you, and you don't have to go out and hire a team for that, but you have one here for it. Based off this as well, a lot of things that we find with vulnerability management is misconfigurations as well as patches. So patching is a necessary evil that people just don't want to do anymore because it's not the sexy thing to do. It's boring and it takes a lot of work and it's not front of mind all the time. Unless there's something like WannaCry that comes out and starts crushing things, everyone wonders why we weren't patching. So this is going to limit your exposure, and this works hand in hand that we can bundle together patch management and vulnerability management together so that when we do find vulnerabilities, we have the assistance to then go patch a lot of them because that's at least 50 to 60% of what we're seeing right now. And it helps you stay compliant and helps you stay secure at the same time. What we do there is we focus on what's important. We take that mundane service that's very, very important, and we do it for you. We'll go through it from a Windows standpoint, understand, even down to the workstation level where we'll patch certain things for you. We'll get a baseline of what you want, and we'll get a better view of what's being patched and what's not being patched, what systems are aligned, which ones aren't, and give you a good understanding of where you're vulnerable. So there might be some certain systems like laptops that just aren't being patched, and we can set up certain solutions like that where we'll pull them down but via agents, so that whether you have sales guys that are in the field all day that aren't on your LAN, they're still getting patches, they're still pulling them down, they're still staying on your baseline, which means they're still staying secure. And we'll do this by releasing emergency patches as well. WannaCry is an example. They had that. There was one free patch for Windows. It wasn't used. It didn't require a reboot, but nobody did it. As part of our service, we will be alerting clients of these particular emergency patches and letting them know that we'll be going out there and patching them. So it's the advisory and the guidance going forward that works in hand with vulnerability management to remediate those emergency patches and those holes in your organization. Moving through the wheel, so manage email security. So phishing is the absolute tool of choice for attackers today. Everybody that starts from an adversarial standpoint is going to start with somewhere with phishing. We've seen Ponymon come out, excuse me, and say over 90% of all attacks start with phishing. It's that bad. It's that easy. It is something that if you do properly, you're going to get in somewhere. You're going to get credentials. You're going to get phishing. Someone to click on a phishing link. You're going to get attachments that are sent through. So these are things that we focus on because that is a super low-hanging fruit item right now, and it's constantly being pushed on. But from that standpoint, we are seeing other things like data loss prevention. people accidentally or purposefully sending out sensitive email through the message of their emails. So credit card information, PHI, or anything that might be sensitive to you. So we have solutions that we use here that are integrated directly into AD that are a quick change. So it's a DNS change. We redirect all the MX records over to us. We do all the filtering, and we do all the daily management of mail as it flows through the environment. That also includes anything that might be, with attachments that have been known bad, where we'll put them in a sandbox. We'll blow them up. We'll see if it's bad. We'll look for known bad phishing URLs. We'll do URL rewriting. So every time someone gets an email and they click on it, it actually goes up to our service that we use here, validates that it's nothing malicious, and then forwards it over, so it's being proxied. We'll manage those user mailboxes. If there's anything from a quarantine perspective, that you guys could also co-manage that. And we'll do configuration rule changes. So if we see anything from a DLP standpoint, we can write rules in there saying, if the word, if you're doing mergers and acquisitions and you want to be able to keep that sensitive, you could say, new merger, anything with that text per se goes out, it must be encrypted, and that will be encrypted through our gateway, so we can have encryption involved as well. We can make sure that we have DMARC and DKIM involved, so we're making sure that all the management of all the email is secure moving through the environment, as well as when it comes into your users' mailboxes, making sure that there's no issues there as well. So managed email security is huge. Everybody has an email address in some shape or form, and they're being either sent emails that could be malicious, or they're sending emails that could have sensitive data or are malicious. So we both look at it from an ingress and egress standpoint. And one of the last ones we look at too is managed endpoint. So attackers are, end of the day, looking to get to an endpoint. That's one of their end goals, depending on what they're looking to do. From an application standpoint, they're looking to get into the app. From anything else, they're looking to get onto an endpoint. So that's their goal. So we've done a really awesome job over the past couple of years as an industry to lock down the perimeter. There's still holes in there, but we've done a pretty decent job there, and we've seen the attackers pivot like they normally do, and they've pivoted over. They are now focusing on the humans, and they're focusing on endpoints and phishing. That's just human nature. They're going to take the least barrier of entry to come after us. So what we do here is we utilize endpoint services that have machine learning built into them, that have a very cloud-friendly way of deploying, so you don't have to worry about signatures, you don't have to worry about anything that's going on. So what we're also looking to do is be able to use this as an EDR solution too, so endpoint detection and response. So what we do is we allow the ability for, if something was missed, because nothing's 100%, but we use machine learning on there to block any type of malicious attacks that are coming into the network. We also, onto that endpoint as well, before they actually detonate, we also allow for an EDR solution to look for things that might not have been caught, or that have been brought in a different way, or attackers that have been able to compromise the system without malware that are looking to come in there. So what we're looking to do right now is that our SOC is also out there, and, I'm hitting the wrong button. Our SOC is out there, and we are looking for and managing and just making sure that everything that we have right now from a deployment standpoint that we can mitigate. So SOC is very, very big for us. So we're going out there and making sure that everyone in our SOC is there. They're able to follow through with a lot of these things. They're able to find the whole life cycle of attack. And this is part of one of those cogs on those wheels here. So from a managed firewall standpoint, we're moving forward too, and this is one of those things that we like to just fully go out with and make that whole perimeter of environments here. So from that standpoint, this is something that everyone needs to understand where their rules are, what their rule sets are, what they're doing, how they're being affected. Are we making rules that might be dangerous to our environment? Are we making rules that are going to leave us out of compliance? So hardening that, reducing the risk, bringing in next generation firewall to have application 7 filtering involved and other things that are built into it. But we do have trained certified engineers here from Palo, Cisco, ForcePoint, Fortinet. They're able to do professional services from there. We actually also manage those fully, If we wanted to do a UTM, we do UTMs here, and we will deploy them and manage everything from firewall, IPS, CASB, sandboxing, the whole nine on there as bundled services to our clients. We also will bring in the full monitoring, patching, and maintenance of those firewalls, as well as the rule set management. So firewalls are something that we do work with pretty heavily here. It's been one of our staples for a very long time. We do it from managing yours, co-managing your firewall, or using one of our UTMs that we do soup to nuts. These are the things that we look to do. And then we tie every single one of those things into our managed SOC. So our managed SOC here is a trained, they're absolutely trained in there. All these guys and gals in there, they're SAN certified. We're SOC 2 Type 2 certified, so we've been audited by a third party to validate our procedures, our policies, our security of your data. So we look to lower the MTTD and the MTTR of what's going on there to detect and respond. Excuse me. And we just want to be able to go out and just coordinate the incidents that are occurring within your organization. That's the reason that we see people get SOC. But by doing this, we're able to limit the recruiting and hiring of skilled analysts from your standpoint. So when we have these teams that are built, when they're out there, you don't have to go out there and hire an entire team of analysts building 24/7, worrying about them actually leaving. So we see a lot of people come to us because we have that background. You're spending a smaller percentage, just a much smaller percentage of having an entire team behind you 24/7. So it's a much lower barrier of entry from a capital perspective to purchase the equipment as well. So you don't have to go buy the infrastructure, upgrade it, manage it, patch it. We're doing that in our back end, and we're taking care of that as well. And we have a full rotation. And these guys here, they're absolutely trained. They're highly certified. They do this on a day-in, day-out basis. And we see a lot of other clients doing a lot of their work, so that also allows us to get a better understanding of attacks from other verticals and how things have happened. So all these other services that we spoke to, manage email, manage network, manage endpoint, manage patch, manage vulnerability management, they all fall back into this one service here, and each one of those cogs could make this up. The managed SIM and SOC can rely on its own, but the more that we give it, the better visibility, the more context, the better that we are at protecting and mitigating. We do it from a monitoring standpoint and from a mitigation standpoint. So we can, at 3 a.m. in the morning, find an alert, see an alert, call you to notify you, or we can do the exact same thing with the access that we have and start mitigating and calling you, letting you know that it's occurring and that we're taking action. So it depends on the client's appetite on what they want us to do for them from that standpoint. So we have a full people process technology. You've seen that before. From our standpoint, we have 50 engineers on staff. Currently, right now, we're all SAN certified from our MSSP. We have been in business for about 43 years, probably 44 now. We're fully trained. We've won multiple awards this year alone for MSSP. And then we take that whole process and we follow the CIS standards. We follow frameworks that our clients need so that we're doing certain things based off their compliance so that we can meet it. We're fully SOC 2 Type 2 certified. We work with a lot of banks and we work with hospitals, and they absolutely require us to have that certification. And it's something that we know, and it's something that we want to give them a better comfort level that we can do. We'll have full custom run books. This is something that we'll be developing with you as we go along. That is also accessible via the client over the internet, so you can update things as we go through and see how we would be responding. And we use the best of breed technology here. We've seen some other competitors that go out and use some technology, and you can look this up, and we see, depending on your opinion of the Magic Quadrant, but we like to stay with the best of breed here because it allows not only you to have the best bang for your buck, but allows us to have the most full set features within the technology we're using. So we also take a lot of the synergies within all those other different services that we offer, and we pull them into one. So the more that we can offer you, the better visibility we have. We also, every time we do an assessment, a risk assessment, we bring that back into some services or ways with remediational work on recommendations that we would see from you guys. So our differentiators right now is we have security engineers in there. We call them analysts, but essentially they're engineers at the end of the day. They're not just monitoring. They are mitigating as well. They're fully Cisco, Microsoft, AWS, and then all the security tools that we use, as well as SANS, which is a third party. So they're fully certified in the technologies that they're mitigating. So one of the things that I like personally is that when they see an attack come through, it's not that they see a blinky light. They understand the underlying technology and why that attack is occurring. So that is very big for us personally. A lot of times we call them SOC analysts, but end of the day, they're engineers themselves. They've put up these systems. They can install these systems, and they have a full grasp of what's occurring behind the alerts that they're doing and the mitigation that they've done. We're fully on Long Island. We do more than just management. We also do monitoring. We do management, not just monitoring. So that's something that we see a lot of our clients and competitors where they just want to call people, but we'll do everything. Due to that heavy engineering and professional services background that we have here, that's something that we kind of backed into. So we were heavily a network engineering, system engineering group here by actually doing the hands-on work, and we realized that we could do this monitoring work as well and do a really good job out of it. Where we've seen a lot of our competitors come from is they've done monitoring really well, and it's hard for them to go backwards into an engineering role because it's a different skill set. So we're heavily engineers here, and that's something that really kind of goes to our benefit. We overlay onto your existing network, so we don't have to pull gear out. We can put things on. We snap into where you need to be. We also will help co-manage things as well. So for clients who are like, I've already made an investment in this technology, I don't want to use you guys as fully in MSSP, so we help with the co-management, especially when it comes to off hours. That's a big one for us as well, because we see a lot of teams who might have a SIM, but at the end of the day, they have to sleep at one point, or they have days off. So we're there, managing when they're not in the office, and we've seen that as a big sell recently as well. So these are the things that we have. This is what we offer. We're looking to just take that, insecurity from your cybersecurity concerns and help either advise, guide. We do heavy resale as well. So if you have products that you're looking for, we do resell a lot of security equipment, and then we offer you a full solution. With that being said, we have a few questions that came through. One was regarding logging. So with the SIM that we have, it says with regards to logging, do you have a certain retention time frame? We can do that. We do have the ability to have retention within logging within the solution that we use. We see a lot of PCI. PCI wants to see at least 12 months, so we can do that. We can take that offshoot that into a separate solution that you might have on site. We can put that in Amazon. We can put that into our system itself. We have multiple different ways of doing that, but we do offer that ability with logging as well. So it's not just alerting. We can receive the logs. For phishing. This one was, do you see attachment defense come through regarding phishing alerts? So attachment defense is something that's more of a vendor buzzword, but yes, we do we do allow attachment defense. So as malicious attachments are coming through with our service, we will see those, but we'll see nasty ones that come through, like some of the ones like, hey, this is your FedEx package, or this PDF, click on that. So we see those come through a lot. With our service, those are stripped out. And I said before, we have like a sandboxing technology, so that will go out there and detonate that up in the cloud before it actually reaches you. And if we determine that it's nasty, that attachment will not make its way back down at all. So hopefully that answers that question. We have another question here. Do we have templates we can build for vulnerability management scans? So by templates, I'm assuming that means for like PCI and HIPAA and that. So yes, there are certain scans that we will be doing either agent-based or network-based, and they'll be looking for the requirements for HIPAA scans, PCI, DFARS, those type of things, so that we can kind of limit to what actually needs to be searched for. So that is 100% doable. We can do that internally, and we can do that externally. That's not an issue at all. That's something that we actually recommend doing. So I recommend doing 2 scans, one for PCI and then one for security. So you would do, if you have system A, which needs to have, which is PCI, I would scan it for PCI, and then I would also scan it for security scans, because whatever you find within those scans, you're going to have to give to an auditor. So you do have to play that game as well, but that doesn't mean that we would reduce any type of security. We have a few more in here. So we're pulling them up right now. From the security awareness, do you have training based on PCI and HIPAA? Yes. So the question was, do we have training based on PCI and HIPAA? That is something that we do. So based off the security awareness modules that we have, we can snap that into almost like it's like a learning management, where we would be directing those trainings towards your users, giving you the deliverables, who passed, showing you a certificate so that you can give that to an auditor at the end of the day. So, and that can all be continuously done and scheduled as campaigns. So those are definitely things that we can do. The awareness as well, we could follow up afterwards for phishing campaigns to see if any of the training that was in there worked as a remediating effort. So that's definitely possible. And the last question we have is, could you please describe the time commitment leading up to the pen test as well as the time frame associated with executing the pen test? Yeah, so with that being done, right, so with the pen test that we do is we normally like to do it between 3 and 4 weeks. That's long for a pen test, I know. We could do it much quicker, but we like to take an adversarial approach to that. So the first week is going to be recon. We're going to not even put a packet on your network. We're going to look at anything that might have been already compromised in the dark web. We're going to look at pulling profiles down from LinkedIn, just getting an understanding of your organization. And then we're going to take that and we're going to start phishing campaigns, social engineering. We're going to call your call centers. We're going to call your people. We're going to start getting even a better understanding of who and what you are and see if we can get credentials in directly from there. We'll start doing external vulnerability assessment tests against you, just poking and prodding, seeing if we can pop in external to internal. And if that doesn't work, like as an attacker would do it, we would do something we call assume the breach, and we actually come into your network for a week, and we sit there and we get a jack on the network, and we just come in and we see what we can do, because eventually, given enough time, someone's going to get in. We also do that from Wi-Fi perspective as well. Within that approach too, we prefer to do physical breach assessments, where trying to get into your data centers, trying to get into your locations. By doing that, we can really get a better understanding of the organization, things that are involved within a company. We've done this in the past, overheard things, sat in meetings, attended town hall meetings, these type of things, as someone who shouldn't have been there. And then we're able to really go out there and make some really dedicated phishing assessments that we're able to, very help the deliverables that we're offering. But those deliverables that we'll be giving, they're going to start showing anything from, where you were at risk, prioritizing those, showing where they were done, and then making recommendations on what they could have been done to fix them or put compensating controls in to remediate some of the efforts. Because some of the things that we find with a pen test or even a vulnerability assessment, once we find those, sometimes they take a year to install. Sometimes they take, hours or days or even a full different architecture. So sometimes it's not feasible to actually go out there and fully fix things right away, but there are compensating controls we put in place, and these are things that we would work with you, both from an application and a more network deliverable. So those are, kind of things that we have going on. But from that standpoint, that is what we offer here at CCSI from our MSSP offering. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Joe Alessino here. We'd be happy to do a follow-up on any of these particular services we offer. Or if you have any questions on new services that we have in the works right now, feel free to call, and we can even schedule time to do a roadmap of what we'll be offering over the next year in 2019.
Thank you, Matt. So I hope everyone found today's webinar informative. I want to thank you again for your time. Your account managers will be following up to review and discuss next steps with you. Thank you again, and have a happy and healthy holiday season.